Good morning. I am working on 3 more guitars for the signed pickup guard guy. So here we go. Now that we have the electronics all switched over to the signed pick guard and the pick guard is installed, I'm going to do a little bit of a polish, then I'm going to tighten up the strings and put it in tune again, and then move on to the next one. But there is something that I forgot to mention. On my conversation with the gentleman yesterday, he informed me, because he used to take these to Guitar Center, and they would overcharge him to swap out the pick guards. And not only that, they told him that in order to do the work, they had to put new strings on, which you clearly just saw. I did not have to put new strings on. This guitar is not going to be played. It is going to become a collector's item for the signatures that are on it. By the way, I believe this one is Snoop Dogg and Ice Cube. That is correct. This is Snoop Dogg and Ice Cube. So, new strings are not necessary, and you can get all the access you want just by loosening the strings and being able to pull the strings up and pick up the pick guard and pull it out. I did not have to put new strings on there. So this is something that Guitar Center said was necessary. It had to get new strings. And I don't know if maybe that's just their policy. If they work on a guitar that, like this, it's got to get new strings afterwards, maybe. Maybe that's something that they have as a policy for, like, quality control, right? I could see reasons why people would come back and complain. However, for this individual and in this circumstance, you'd think that they'd be able to have a little bit of wiggle room and say, okay, we understand. You're just swapping out the pick guard for a signed pick guard. You're going to sell it from there on. It's probably never going to get played again, ever. So you'd think they'd have the ability to be like, we don't need to put strings on, we'll discount that cost for you. But they don't. So, I'm not trying to speak ill of Guitar Center, but when I have the opportunity, I try to go to a local guitar shop. Unfortunately, between me and the local guitar shops is a Guitar Center. There's no Guitar Center is the closest to a guitar store to me that I know of. So sometimes it's a necessary evil, like going to Walmart. However, instead of everyday low prices at Walmart, at Guitar Center, you're not going to get everyday low prices. You are going to get upcharged, and they're going to gouge you a little bit. Now, sometimes that's good. Sometimes you want to get what you pay for, and have that reassurance. But more often than not, it's So not only am I able to do this work for this gentleman for less than Guitar Center was charging him, I'm also not charging him to put new strings on a guitar that doesn't need new strings and will never actually be played again. So the new strings are not necessary. So find yourself someone that you can trust, has some good recommendations, and that would be my recommendation for getting it set up. You know, if you can't, that's fine. Go to Guitar Center. They'll give you a setup. But they're taking in guitars and doing setups all the time for people. So their setups are kind of the more of a quick, basic setup. And if they have to do anything extra that's not covered under the scope of that setup, it's going to come at a charge. Whereas sometimes a local guitar shop owner or a local guitar tech will just be like, it wasn't that big of a deal, it needed it. You know, maybe they'll give you a discount on the additional work they did, or maybe they won't, depending on what the extra thing was. Maybe it's just not even worth it to do the extra thing. For instance, the next guitar I'm going to work on, it's another black Strat. I'm going to put a pickguard on that. It's missing like 3 strings, and one of the strings that is on it is out of gauge. Like it's a larger string somewhere in the middle of the guitar that should be like a low E or something. Like someone just threw random things on there and it's missing strings. So I'm not charging that guy for the extra strings, you know. I have enough, you know, if you break enough strings and you do enough stuff, you have spare strings. And out of the opened packs of strings that I've stole from to, you know, replace just a single string, I'm sure I have enough strings to spare that I could put a cohesive gauge. It'll be a custom gauge set, you know, gauge set, but they'll at least be proper in their gauge scaling down, you know, for the guy. And I'm not going to do that at any charge because I have the strings. It's just not worth it. He's going to continue to give me business, and what is, you know, a new pack of strings is like $6-7. What's a few bucks in individual strings compared to customer returning to you and paying you more money over time? There's no point in it. This is a win-win for him and and I at the same time. So things to consider when you're considering things like setup or work on your guitar. Guitar Center is a corporation. A independent guitar owner or technician is a person. And at a corporation, it's by the book. You're not going to get any deals. Pretty sure you can't even haggle with them on price there. Whereas if you went to an independent guitar shop, you could probably haggle a little bit, negotiate, and also, they might treat you good on little things, little extra things to earn your return business. They'll do things for you that, so that you will appreciate them. So think about that. Okay, here we go. This one is definitely going to need some polish, but it, certainly has a wrong string at the G. That G string that's on there is somewhere in between the gauge of whatever D and A string is on here. And it looks bronze, so it might even be an acoustic string. So we're going to take this fat G string off here that doesn't belong on there, and we're going to go 9, 13, 17, and that will suffice for the E, B, and G. Okay, so here is the modern English. So in the first batch we had a modern English, and now in the second batch we have another modern English. This was the one that had missing and a wrong string, so now they're all strung up. The string tension, these are pretty heavy gauge strings, especially in comparison to the lighter gauge strings I put on the low end. So these heavier gauge strings were pulling on the trem bridge quite a bit. I had to back out the claw, and then I had to take the two outer springs and connect them one hook in so that they're running at like a diagonal angle rather than three straight. And then I had to tighten the claw all the way back up in the body, and it's still floating the bridge just a little bit, so I put the guitar in E flat. So a half step down, which is like Hendrix tuning, Stevie Ray Vaughan tuning. I think possibly Eddie Van Halen tuned a half step down, I'm not sure. But quite a few artists tune a half step down. Weezer, all kinds of people, depending on the song. But some people used it all the time. So I did that just to relieve the tension, and it is just floating a little bit now. And yeah, so I'm gonna throw the back plate cover on, and here's this guitar. All right, this next one, I am heartbroken because I want this guitar. It's a surf green Telecaster with a nice, I believe, parchment colored pickguard, and it is a string through body, which I like. I like the string through. So badly, I just want to give this thing a setup. I want to set it up so bad to play. I want to address these fret ends. I want to roll the fretboard. I want to get some good strings on it. I want to do the action and intonation. I want to do a fret level and crown. I want to make this into a playable machine, and I want to keep it. Guess I'm gonna have to get one of these for myself. It hurts me in a way that I'm putting a signed pickguard on here, and it's never gonna get played ever again. It's just gonna be wall art, which, I mean, I have a lot of guitars that are wall art, but I do get around to picking them up and playing them. Here we go. And we're done.